Kia ora koutou. Welcome to this mini JavaScript course. It's 2025 and we're going to create a foundation for JavaScript so that you can understand how it works, what it's capable of doing, and most importantly, how you can do this. Right? You can write your own apps in JavaScript, and we're going to do it together, and then hopefully you'll be able to make your own. That's my goal. So why JavaScript? Why not other languages like Scratch or Python? Well, the reason I want you to get your head around JavaScript now is that it's the most popular language out there. It's the one that pretty much every developer needs to know something of JavaScript, even if they're primarily like a PHP developer or Rust or one of the other languages. JavaScript is something that's needed in a developer's portfolio, and it's actually a lot of fun, especially when you realize what you can do with it. Right? It doesn't require extensive server setups like PHP or Rust. It doesn't require extra hardware or like the Arduino stuff. You're using a C-based language. You need the hardware and all that, which isn't that expensive, and it's a lot of fun. But JavaScript works just on any computer. You don't need anything. It's free. It's completely free and open source. Most of the websites that you visit use JavaScript, almost all of them, right? And because it's such a popular thing, there's a lot of focus on it, which means it improves constantly. It means more tools that we can use, and importantly, there's problems that come up, like security problems and issues. They get solved a lot faster with JavaScript than other languages now. That's possibly debatable, but that's what I'm seeing. It's also very easy to get help in JavaScript because there's communities like, Stack Overflow. There's so many people that know it and are willing to help. And one of my favorite things is JavaScript has so many good frameworks. Frameworks are kind of like an app in a box, and you learn how to use that framework, and it will you can develop things really rapidly. Now, there are frameworks in other languages, like Ruby has its own Ruby on Rails, Python has Django, has Flask, which is really cool. Flask is amazing. I love that one. And pretty much every language have frameworks, so that you can get an app up and going really quick. Now, a framework has stuff on the front end, like user interface stuff that's made for you. It also has things that make life easier on the back end. Back end is where we get data from, like a database, right? So some of the popular ones, of course, Node.js, React. React developers are in demand. If someone's really good with React, they can easily find work. At least in 2025 when this video is made. My favorite is SvelteKit. I love it because you can write raw vanilla JavaScript with HTML and CSS, so you're operating in a familiar language environment, and it's also faster than React. I mean, they say it's more reactive than React, and a lot less confusing. So that's one of my personal favorite ones. And then there's another one that I've learned, Next.js, which is also really incredible and actually pretty easy to use. I would say a bit more difficult than SvelteKit, but this is all stuff for way down the road. At first, we're going to have to learn how to set up a basic web page, and in that web page, embed some CSS and some JavaScript. So while I say this is a mini JavaScript course, in a sense, it's going to be like a whole user interface course, because it kind of has to be to get a web app going. All right, so JavaScript versus other languages. Okay, JavaScript is textual. You write actual code out. It's not graphical like Scratch. I love Scratch. You learn a lot from Scratch, but we're not working with blocks and all of that. However, the same concepts that you learn in Scratch of like looping, decision making, if it's this situation, do this thing, else do some other thing. All of those concepts are also in JavaScript and every other programming language for that matter, right? But we use different syntax. Syntax is a vocabulary word, right? And it really just means the way that the language looks, kind of like spoken languages. It's going to look different, obviously, French versus Spanish, although they're similar languages from the Latin language group. They look different on the page, right? So compared to Python, Python is great for learning programming because you're forced. It doesn't work unless it's formatted properly. It's one of these languages they say white space matters. So how you indent things, that's important. It's actually my favorite language to teach in school because it's easy to mark because all the code is nice and tidy, right? It's also just great to learn good coding practice. JavaScript will work if it's written messily, as long as you conform to its grammar. Now, grammar is like the background set of rules that govern the language. From grammar, the syntax is developed. Just giving you some vocab, right? Yeah, if you conform to that grammar, it's going to work even if it looks unreadable by a human. The machine can still read it and it still works, which places some responsibility on us to write clean JavaScript. I mean, here's the reason why. Like while you're writing code, it may make total sense and you save it. And let's say the very next day you open up that project and yeah, you pick up where you left off. It doesn't take long. But let's say you save that project and it's sloppy state with stuff all over the page, which you can get away with in JavaScript. You come back, I don't know, a month later to pick up your project, to keep going with it. It's hard to you got to spend all this time getting your head around all the stuff you did before because it's just a sloppy. There's no comments, probably, uh, and it kind of it's a waste of time. Whereas Python, it's very easy to pick up where you left off because everything's laid out on the page. You can kind of like, oh, you can follow your logic that you used quite straightforward. So that's why it's important to use good coding practice, which I'm going to demonstrate to you and also show you like the workarounds. Like we're going to use VS Code, and VS Code has a plugin called Beautify, and it literally takes your sloppy stuff and formats it nicely. Which personally I use that because I'm lazy. It just makes it easy, right? Now JavaScript can do pretty much everything that's needed, right? If like let's say there was only one language that were ever going to learn, that's the bell. JavaScript would be the one in my opinion, right? You do the front end user interface stuff, not just on web apps, but on actual apps that people install on their computer. Like, for instance, Visual Studio Code, the thing we're going to use, it's actually written in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Retrieving data from the back end from the database, well, Node.js, JavaScript does that. And there's the JavaScript object notation or JSON, which is pretty much the main way that APIs or systems communicate with each other via APIs, right? And it's the reason it's still around for a very long time is because it's really, really efficient and ideal for that purpose. It beats the previous stuff, which was XML. XML is also quite good, but JSON is faster and more efficient, in my opinion. That's debatable. Yeah, so real quickly, this little course, first thing we're going to do is get our workflow set up with VS Code, making an account with GitHub, and then having them talk to each other. We're going to start with some very basic HTML so we can get up and going. Also some real basic CSS, just to understand what styles are and then use them in a basic way. And then we're going to get into some foundational JavaScript. I'm tempted to go further into JavaScript because that's the name of the course. But for starters, we're going to start basic. and then I'll probably develop like extra modules to go with this basic course. And at the end of this, we're going to learn how to deploy our JavaScript web apps that we're going to make together. We're going to learn how to deploy it for free. I use a system called Netlify. There's also Vercel. And as long as you've written it in JavaScript, you can host it there. You get a little subdomain, and yeah, it doesn't cost a thing. I've got lots of little apps up. I don't pay a thing. I'll show you how to do that. Looking forward to going through this with you.